Hello biking campers, this is Jeremy for Incan Expeditions here in our office in Cusco, Peru. And today I'm going to go over two setups, one for bike packing through the Andes Mountains and the other for bike rafting through the Amazon. I like to have a place for everything and everything in its place. Everything with a purpose. And I love to make my own stuff. So let's get to it. Let's start with the bike packing over here at the back. This is a 30-liter dry bag. It lays on a rack and then I clip it around the seat post. And then I lash it down using Velcro straps. Even when I pick the bike up, it stays on there really well. So this is the 30-liter, and this is a 20-liter. I use shock cord to hold down my camping stool and helmet. The big taboo for bike packers is the use of any bungee cord. I would agree if you're using bungee cords you find at the hardware store, which have big metal hooks. If you do use shock cord, you can hog tie it yourself. Then decide what's the worst that could happen if one of the ends came loose. Now this is what I started with, but it's not waterproof and it sticks out on the sides. Then I moved on to this 3 10-liter dry bag setup, which is waterproof, but it also sticks out on the sides, which is not good for pushing your bike uphill. Let's move up a bit. Here I made a little pouch for my bike tool which wraps around the seat post. If you have the time, learn how to sew. Then you can make anything you want, in any color you want, and without the ugly logos. Here's a mini pump holder, also made from canvas. All you campers know that you always end up with something wet you don't want to stick in your pack, so I made this cargo net area. Here I've got my rain poncho, my millbank bag with water filter inside of it, and a rain cover I can use on the handlebars. Here's my tool bottle, where I keep spare inner tubes, patch kits, water purification pills, etc. Frame bags are really popular. I use mine to carry heavy things that I need to get to, like camera equipment and batteries. I made a cardboard cutout to use as a pattern, and then I added 3 centimeters around the edges for the bag's expansion. I sewed it inside out using webbing on the edges, and then I added loops to the corners. It's 4 layers thick, 2 on each side, and made of Oxford cloth. The sewing was killing my fingers, so I found a shoemaker to help me out. I siliconed between the fabrics. Here's the Oxford cloth and the thread I used. Now for this water bottle harness thing. I tried the bottle cages, it just wasn't enough. I started with a 2.5-liter soda bottle, then moved up to a 3. Okay, let's put some water in it. I made this cap so I don't have to pull the whole bottle out when I want water. It lets air in at the top and water out at the bottom. And here's the little valve. Open the valve, suck on the water, and start a siphon. This is still a work in progress, so you'll have to see the next video to see how it all turns out. Then either close the valve or raise it up higher than the bottle to stop the siphon. Here comes the air. Then wrap it around the top tube or something like that. We'll see how it turns out. Okay, moving on to the bike stem where I have my GPS. I sewed webbing around a plastic soda bottle. This 1/4-inch ball mount is really handy for my DSLR, GoPro, and monocular. This mount only tilts in one direction, so I can't really level the camera when the bike's leaning to one side. This is really nice for wrapping around something, but the ball mount's made of plastic, which means it's not going to last. Here's a junky little flashlight holder, but it works just fine. Here's my bubble compass. I had to replace the metal screw with a plastic one because it was sending the bubble all over the place. On the front I've got a cheap camera bag, but it's not waterproof and it definitely does not fit my long lens. I found a Tupperware box with a gasket, and then I used Velcro to strap it down. Here's the short lens version. With these Velcro thingies, I can strap down the tripod in place. I have a 10-liter dry bag cinched down using the handlebar harness. It just uses friction and a back and forth system to stay in place. It also pulls tight over the handlebars and around the head tube. Here's the harness laid out on the floor. Now for the old knife on the fork trick. It's just a cheap throwing knife in a PVC sheath. I used hose clamps and rubber strips cut from sandals. Now we're ready for the zombie apocalypse. Okay, now let's move on to the bike rafting with only a couple of differences. I've added my PFD, paddles, packraft, and machete. Okay, let's start with the paddles. I think most people are wrapping them up in the front harness with their boat. For me, this was awkward and it made the front heavy, so I tried putting them on the back. I laid them flat and put the bag on top. The problem is with the odd shape and slick surface, you have to secure them down somehow. So I made more shock cord netting, which fit the paddles, and I put one on each side. It also holds more things like this cook kit, clothing, firewood, whatever. With the paddles flat against the sides, I'm still able to put on extra dry bags. This is 2 10 liters on the sides and a 30 on top, a total of 50 liters. Now the middle section of this whole setup's the same, but let me show you how to use a backpack rain cover on the front. I think this is a 30 to 40 liter size, which is just about right. This is water resistant but not waterproof. Now for the machete on the fork trick. Yeah, why did I do this? Well, you don't know where you're going to camp until you first bushwhack your way in. If I keep it in my pack, I'm going to have to dig for it every time. And now we have a new sport, bike bushwhacking. Make sure you roll up your pack raft with the sides really folded in so it doesn't stick out on the sides. Okay, let's remove the end plug, and inside I've got a tent stake and anchoring line. Tying down the handlebars means I can now use the bike as a shelter or a tripod using that 1/4 inch mount. On the back I added this insert. Save that end plug. Put a tent pole in the insert, then cap the top. Now you're ready for a bike shelter. The pole gets the tarp off the seat, which prevents any rain from seeping through. You can see the setup in a video to come. Now for the music. If I'm going to go full Pee Wee Herman, then I have to include it. This green gadget works well, but it's not loud enough. This is what I'm working on. A 2-speaker left and right stereo system. These speakers get loud, and they have a 2-volume setting and run for about 6 hours each. Here are the connections I used to get the stereo. You'll need 3.5mm to RCA adapters. Make sure you're using a splitter that has both red and white ends, or it's probably not stereo. With this setup, you'll also need some kind of a player. If you need to power something on the handlebars, you can make a waterproof housing from PVC. Here I have a mini power bank, and I epoxied the cable ends into the cap. There's both in and out cables, so I can charge the device and at the same time charge the power bank using a solar panel. I hope something here gave you an idea for your own setup. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future bike packing or bike rafting adventures. Or if you plan on being in my area, come and join me on a trip. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.